Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and we just finished going over exceptions, and now we're going to go over raising exceptions. So the exceptions we've seen so far were raised by a Python interpreter when it detected an error. However, you can also raise exceptions yourself when a situation occurs where you own the code and consider it to be an error. So to raise an exception, you use the raise statement. Okay, so this was the code that I used last time, very simple. So we're gonna just make this a little bit different, but let's take a look at what this looks like in a shell. So if I say raise not implemented error and then pass a string, I'm sorry, Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that. Just like that, traceback, not implemented error. I'm afraid I can't do that. So I actually just created a raise exception. You can use any exception you want, but it's a good idea to choose the exception type that best describes the particular error condition that has occurred. If I had used a value error or some kind of, something that didn't make sense, it wouldn't match. So you want to make sure that whatever exception you're raising matches the particular situation you're expecting with the particular error that you're trying uh, to figure out. So, anyways, um, let's see. You can define your own exception types too, and I'll do that here pretty soon. But the argument we pass to the exception class is printed out as part of the error message, which is super cool. And I wish more programmers would do this because sometimes things just don't work and they don't give you any error handling whatsoever. So yeah, so you can define your own exceptions. Um, to do that, you have to define a class that inherits from any other exception class. So ultimately, all exceptions derive from the base exception. And when I say base exception, I mean like there's literally a thing called base exception. Okay. Um, the class is not intended to be directly subclassed, and your custom exception should inherit from exception instead. Nearly all built-in exceptions also inherit from exception, and exceptions that do not inherit from exception are meant for internal use by just the Python interpreter itself. So that, um, I think, is a good place to stop. And I'll go ahead and if you need to go back over any of this, let me know if you have any questions. Internalize that, and we're going to get into some tracebacks and do a little bit more coding hands-on stuff.